was wondering about philosophy, so I had to talk with Amy Leask. She is a philosopher that works with kids. Think. What is philosophy?
Oh, that's a big question. That's a big question all by itself. Philosophy is a big fancy word that means love of wisdom. So philosophy is about asking these really, really big questions. But I think philosophy is also a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking logically and reasonably and explaining why you think the way you think. So philosophy is kind of those two things.
What kind of questions do we actually ask in philosophy?
That's big too. Philosophy covers just about everything. A philosopher might ask, how do we know anything? Someone might say, I'm really, really sure that the earth is flat. And a philosopher will say, how do you know? Did you use your eyes to do this? Did you use your logic to figure it out based on other things? Did somebody tell you the earth is flat? So a philosopher will ask why. Why do we think the earth is flat? But philosophers ask questions about art and beauty. They ask questions about fairness. They ask questions about knowledge and how we know things. They ask questions about right and wrong and how we behave towards each other. But it always has kind of a why to it when a philosopher asks.
What do we use philosophy for, in our world?
Well, I would say that most of us use philosophy every day. We're always asking these questions. And philosophy is a really useful tool when we're trying to solve problems. So what's a big problem in the world right now?
What about pollution?
Pollution's a big one, and philosophers are pretty good about asking questions about the environment and nature and why we feel the way we do about the environment. So philosophers would ask things like, why do we think humans are in charge? Why do we think humans are the most important creatures on the planet? And then we would go, into other questions from there. Well, if humans maybe aren't the most important, or we're not the only creatures on the planet, then why do we think we get to use all of it? And why do we think we get to dump garbage in the ocean and, chemicals and things like that?
Can anyone do philosophy?
Not only do I think anyone can do philosophy, I think everyone does it. There are people who think that babies do philosophy. These questions we ask about who am I and what is all this stuff around me and how do I relate to it. Babies are doing that even before they start talking. And when you get a little older, well, what question do you start asking when you get a little bit older?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
They're not thinking, I'm going to look silly or, someone's going to judge me for asking this question or they're going to look at me funny. They're just like, I need to know, right? I'm a little person in a great big world and I need to figure this out, so I'm just going to ask. I think we could practice a little bit more and sort of recognize, I'm doing philosophy. How can I ask this question in a way where I get more answers and I pull in more viewpoints and I look at it a little more logically.
Does it bother you that some questions have more than one answer?
Not really, no. No, I think maybe that's why I started doing philosophy as much as I did, was I really love the big questions that go on and on and on forever. People have been doing philosophy for as long as we've been people, and there are things we've never really figured out, not yet anyway, and maybe we never will.
What do you think is the hardest part of philosophy, the most hard part?
Coming up with answers to questions can be tricky, and they're big questions, right? In philosophy, we usually say, the rule is you have to explain why you think something. You have to explain your ideas and back them up and that sort of thing. Once you admit you don't know, then you open yourself up to all kinds of different conversations. You open yourself up to different people giving you their ideas to consider. But I think for grown-ups anyway, the really hard part about philosophy is saying, I don't know sometimes.
What kind of philosophy is in everybody's life or most people's life?
What makes something beautiful? What makes something stylish? When we play a game or we play a sport, we ask questions about fairness. If you have an argument with a referee, it's not fair because you made that call. Well, we're asking the question, what is fair?
Why is continuing philosophy important?
I think humans are so curious. I don't know that we could stop ourselves anyway. I don't know that it's something that we could finish or turn off. I think we're always going to do it. We always have done it. So it's important to do it because it's part of who we are. It's part of what we do.
Can I stop poking my head now?
Yes, you can stop.
Ow.
Go ahead.
If you've been wondering too, subscribe for more big questions.